Morning. Well, this morning I've got kind of an exciting message in a way from Jesus. It's about Jesus' thirst to be known absolutely everywhere in society. So here goes. Jesus, my children, how I thirst to be known among all my children in every corner of society and of the world, and especially in those places where I am unknown. Look to your saints, those brave men and women who went to foreign lands and places to make me known. My children, it is no different today in your modern world. I am so unknown by lots of people and in lots of places, and this is why I raise up brave souls and send them out. My children, it is not enough to pray, we must also love. I came down from heaven to love you and to be with you, while I could have helped you from heaven. By the same token, you must leave your heaven and venture out and learn to love those souls who do not know me. Remember, I was a friend of sinners, and if you are true followers of mine, then so must you be. Well, it's inviting. That's the tone I got from Jesus' messages. It's inviting, it's real, it's true, and exciting as well, exciting and inviting. He starts off by saying, how I thirst to be known among all my children in every corner of society and all over the world. So, all my children, every corner of society, all over the world. And then he goes on to say, especially in those places where I am unknown. And of course, in today's society, when we talk about making Jesus known, obviously geographically speaking, we're talking about every single country from the northern hemisphere to the southern hemisphere, from Australia to Europe to every single country and place and country town and stuff like that, Asia, everything. So we're talking about all those places. We're also talking nowadays too about online, and that's why nowadays there's an awful lot of online evangelization. When you think of all the online forums, online chat rooms, online this, online that, to make Jesus known in those places too. Not to mention, of course, the more artificial intelligence and these type of things creep in. So Jesus thirsts to be known in every single corner of society. Then he goes on to say, look at your saints, those brave men and women who went to foreign lands and places to make me known. And that, I think, is something we often forget. Say, for example, I'm Irish. I spent a number of years living in France. I spent years living in other typically Catholic countries as well, Croatia, Australia. But also I spent time living in India. And India, of course, is minority Catholic. And when we look at all these countries, or especially Ireland, at least France, we could sort of think that we were always Catholic in Ireland, that France was always Catholic, and we can pray for the world, we could think, but we've got it all together, so to speak. But when we look back at the history, we realise that Ireland wasn't always Catholic, France wasn't always Catholic. In fact, Ireland was such a pagan country that Patrick, when he was captivated by the slaves, thought that the Irish were barbarians. It's also known in France when they suggested, I think it was Saint Louis Grignon de Montfort, but it was known when he suggested doing a ministry or a mission to Ireland. A bishop said to him, oh, keep away from those people, they're barbarians, they'll eat you alive. And yet someone, and it was St. Patrick, but someone had to go and chance it with a love for these people and say, yes, they are barbarians, they're into all sorts of pagan practices and all sorts of stuff, yet they're children of God, God loves them, and this is my mission field. By the same token, people had to go to all the Asian countries. People go and still go, China, Korea, all these countries. And so Jesus has a special thirst actually to go to corners where he hasn't been known before. And so he says it's no different today. I'm so unknown by lots of people and in lots of places, and this is why I raise up brave souls and send them out. Now I could also say in my ministry, special minister I have to reaching out to people in the LGBT community, that often it's pretty much the same. People in the LGBT community have often heard about Jesus, the Jesus that discriminates against them, maybe the Jesus that they think that doesn't love them. They've never had that personal experience of Jesus, the loving Jesus, the kind Jesus, the gentle Jesus. They've never heard of places like Medjugorje or inner healing or the love of God, really. And so this too, even though it's in our modern world, is what we could call a new mission field. And so Jesus goes on to say, it is not enough to pray, but he's not saying that not to pray, he's just saying it's not enough, but you must also love. And so he makes the example, he says, I, Jesus, he came down from heaven to love us and to be with us, where he could have helped us directly from heaven. So in other words, what Jesus is saying is he could have stayed in heaven and helped us without becoming man and without becoming close to us, but he did become man. And so he's using the same example. He says, you too must leave your heaven. Now what is your heaven in inverted commas? Your heaven might be your kitchen. Your heaven might be your local church. Your heaven might be that place where you feel surrounded by prayer, surrounded by love, and where everything is fine. And that's a good place that you have to resource. That's a good place you have when you're tired, when you need to cry, when you need to pray. And so you needn't leave it as in destroy it, but leave it to go out. Leave it to go out and to meet other people, the same way as Jesus left heaven to come down. And so to venture out to learn to love souls who do not know me. So what does that mean? Well, it doesn't necessarily mean that you should pack your bags and you should go into the red light district of your local town, or you should go visiting prostitutes or gay people or homeless people or all sorts of stuff. These missions do exist, but these missions are people with a special calling. I wouldn't, for example, be telling other people they should be doing what I'm doing. I've been given a special calling to do what I'm doing, and if I wasn't given that special calling, I wouldn't be doing it. So it's as simple as that. But what you can do is to go out. It can be simple things like you can be at the coffee shop and you can decide to make that extra effort to talk to the person serving you coffee, get to know them. Similarly, you can be on a bus and maybe someone beside you says something or whatever, and you have these little opportunities, these windows of grace. Same thing in your normal everyday life. You might be going swimming, you meet people there, or at the gym. And every now and again we have this choice. We say, will I say something, will I not say something? Will I introduce myself, will I not introduce myself? And with these little places where we can just make that extra effort. Same thing in our social lives. Maybe you have kids in school. What effort do you make to get to know the other parents, to get to know them? And it's not about saying, oh, I believe in Jesus, blah, blah, blah. No, you don't have to go there. You can get to know them gently over time. And over time, little windows of opportunities will open up for you to say about your faith or to pray for them. Or you might never, for a year, tell them about your faith, but you might be praying for them. Or they might just share with you that they're troubled and they're worried. And by you listening to them, you're already helping them to unburden, and you're already being Jesus for them without them even knowing. So Jesus is saying that we need to leave, if you like, our comfort zone, and we need to venture out. We need to venture out to get to know people. Same thing when it comes to online evangelization, things like on the internet, all these type of things, to pick our opportunities and to try to reach out more. And so he says, Jesus says, remember, I was a friend of sinners, and if you were a true follower of mine, then so must you be. And so it's obviously tricky. Jesus calls us to be friends with everyone. Of course, we're all sinners, really. So anyway, but those of us who have had an experience, and maybe a deep experience of God's love, and have deep lives of prayer, well, yes, in that case, we are privileged. We are graced to know that little bit more about Jesus, and hopefully to have that little bit more healing. And that means that we can be friends with other people. And even if they don't believe in Jesus, even if they're total atheists, we can still be their friends. We can get to know them, they can talk to us, we don't have to agree. Every now and again we can tell them what we believe in, we can tell them how we see it, we can tell them how God has changed our life perhaps, but we don't need to ram it down their throats in a sort of a way that they never want to talk to us again. We can pray for them, we can maybe invite them for a coffee, we can invite them for lunch, maybe if there's a prayer service at our church or something at Christmas, we can invite them along just to see. We can be that friend, and especially if they might be sick. I meet a lot of people, and at times they tell me that they're sick, that there's this wrong, that there's that wrong. And when I go home, when I go to Mass, or when I go to adoration, I pray for them. I pray for the person that's sick. I bring that person at the offertory. I bring them to Jesus in the Mass. And if they didn't talk to me, and if they hadn't been open, then they wouldn't be getting those prayers. So you see, we can be bringing people to Jesus in a very discreet, humble, almost unseen way. And bit by bit, I've noticed over the years, opportunities do open up to talk about our faith more and to listen to people's stories. And so let us today please Jesus. Let us think of Jesus, who was in heaven and who came down to earth to love us, to be with us while we were still sinners. I think it's St. Paul that says that proof of God's love is that he loved us while we were still sinners. And so let us then have that same grace today to love others while, in inverted commas, they're still sinners, as if we're not, but you know what I mean. And let us go out and let us be humble. And every time we meet these people, say, well, what if it was the other way around? what if I was the one that hadn't heard of Jesus because I was living in this country, or because I didn't have the opportunities, or because of whatever? Wouldn't I like someone to come and bring Jesus to me in a gentle way that I can understand, where I wouldn't feel judged, that would bring me, take me by the hand and introduce me into this faith? And that's our challenge, is to bring people to the faith humbly, gently, firmly, lovingly. And no better person to help us to do this than our beautiful Our Lady, Mother Mary, our mother, their mother. Remember, Our Lady is mother of every soul, not just the Christian soul. She's mother of God, she's mother of humanity. So she's mother of all these souls. So what a consolation that when we're doing evangelization, or when we're meeting someone, we can say, well, Our Lady, you already know exactly that soul and what they're going through. So help me to be Jesus, help me to be love, help me to bring that soul to Jesus and to God and to love. So there you go. Let us meditate on that today. Let us reflect on that today. And most of all, let us open our hearts and be generous. Practice makes perfect. I still struggle with it at times, even though I'm doing evangelization for years. I can still be awkward at times meeting new people. I can still be shy. I can still not feel like it at times. I can still not know what to say. I can still feel like I'm about that small and intimidated and all the rest. And yet I know that Jesus is saying, Michael, do your best, because if you don't, who else is going to be doing it? So let us all do our best for Jesus, and let us try to kindle in our hearts this love that Jesus has for others. And if we kindle that love in our hearts, it's that love that will send us out. It's that love that will give us the perseverance. It's that love that will motivate us in the difficult times. And it's that love that will bring us to daring to talk to people, and daring to talk to people about Jesus, about God, and maybe even bring them back to the church. So there you go. Thanks for watching, and have a wonderful day. And hopefully you will meet some new souls today that you can witness the love of Jesus to. God bless you.